Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Before we get started with today's Yin class, go ahead and grab any and all props that you have available to you. I'm using 2 blocks, a bolster, and a couple of blankets. If you do not have a bolster, you can grab 2 or 3 bed pillows or maybe a cushion from your couch. And if you do not have yoga blocks, you can grab some smaller pillows or just some extra blankets or even some towels. Now, if you do not have any props, you can still do the class. But the more props that you have, the more opportunity to help you find more comfort in some of the poses since we will be holding them for a while. Most of the poses that we will hold today are about 3 minutes a piece. Some will be less, some will be more. So go ahead and take this time to grab your props. Hit the pause button if you need to. Once you found your props, we'll get started in a comfortable seat any way that you like. I'm sitting in Virasana on my shins and sitting on a block that's in between my heels. But if you're sitting cross-legged position, you can sit on a bolster or a couple of blankets. And your arms will just rest down by your sides with your hands on your knees, palms face up or down. Go ahead and close your eyes, and we'll start with a slow, deep breath in through your nose. And then sigh it out through your mouth. And then just take 5 slow, deep breaths in and out through your nose. And then just start to use your 5 senses to notice the space around you. Widen your senses. See if you can widen your sense of hearing to hear things that are in your space and maybe even outside of your space. Notice any smells in the room. Notice if you can feel the quality of the air on your bare skin. Any taste in your mouth, maybe any colors or images within the blank space of your eyelids. And then as you start to bring more awareness to your breath, start to feel and see that breath travel into your body, expanding your belly and rising up into your chest. And then exhale, chest empties, belly empties, and the breath escapes. And just notice any sensation internally within your body that you may feel. Notice any thoughts that may be coming in and out. And just see if you can allow yourself to observe those thoughts. Not so much reacting to them, but just simply noticing them, maybe labeling them, and then letting them go. With your spine tall and your shoulders heavy, drop your right ear over to your right shoulder. Allow your left shoulder to be heavy. And if you want to add on, you can walk your left fingertips out to the side with your arms straight. If you want to add on a little bit more from there, you can take your right hand on top of your head, adding some gentle weight. And then just breathe into the left side of your neck. Take a deep breath in. And on your exhale, release your right hand from your head if you have it there. Lift your head up slowly. And then left ear over to your left shoulder. Right fingertips can walk out to the side with your arms straight. And you can add your left hand on top of your head just to add some gentle weight. And as you stay here, breathe into the right side of your neck. And take a deep inhale. Exhale, release your left hand and slowly lift your head up. And then from here, drop your chin to your chest and notice if your spine slightly rounds forward. See if you can maintain that tallness in your spine as your head drops. And if you want to add on from here, you can interlace your hands, place them on the back of your head, and then just let your elbows be heavy forward, just adding some gentle weight. And breathe. With your next exhale, carefully release your hands. And then as you inhale, lift your head. And exhale. And then inhale, lift your chin up towards the sky, stretching through the front of your neck and allowing your head to slightly drop back. Notice if your shoulders are scrunching up towards your ears, and see if you can allow your shoulder blades and the heads of your shoulders to slide down. On your next inhale, lift your head up. And exhale here. And then hands in front of your knees. We'll take some seated cat-cows. So inhale, belly forward, chest up, chin up, and shoulders back. And then exhale, round your back as you tuck your chin to your chest. And just take a few rounds on your own. Moving with your breath like you are moving through water. After your next cat and cow, find a neutral spine. And if you are in Virasana, come to sit on your bum and we will take our next pose, which will be butterfly with a forward fold. So you can sit on a blanket or two, or maybe a pillow, and you'll place the soles of your feet together with your knees apart. Your legs are in a diamond shape. If your hips and or knees are uncomfortable in this position, you can take one block underneath each thigh, or you can take a rolled up blanket or towel underneath each thigh. And then from here, you'll hinge from your waist and fold forward. You can either keep a flat back, or you can round your back and just let your head and upper body drop forward. Lots of different ways you can prop yourself up here. You can take elbows on top of blocks. You can also stack blocks and a bolster to create a little table for you to rest on. And once you come into your fold, allow your inner and outer thighs to soften. And then just allow yourself to lean into gravity. So the sequence is all about the spine. We've already targeted our neck, the cervical spine. So now we're taking our spine into spinal flexion, which is one of the major movements of our spine. So the spine, which is the center channel of our entire bone structure, is one of the most mobile parts of our body. There are 6 major movements. We have flexion, which is forward fold, what we're doing right now. Extension, which is back bends. There's also 2 sides in lateral flexion or side stretches, and then our spine twists from left to right. So we'll be exploring all of those 6 major movements in this sequence today. And it is very important for not just our spinal health, but overall health of our body. Because the spine connects to our upper body extremities and our lower body extremities, Our spine essentially is the bridge between the entire function of our musculoskeletal system. And it's even important for our nervous system, as the central channel of our nervous system runs through our spine. So you can think of the spine as the highway that connects our musculoskeletal system to our nervous system. So we have about another third left in our hold. See if you can allow yourself to soften maybe 5 or 10% more. So with Yin Yoga, we hold the postures for a specific amount of time, and we allow ourselves to hold the pose without any muscular activation or any specific alignment. By doing this, we allow ourselves to get into the deeper layers of our body, the connective tissues. So tissues like the joints, ligaments, and fascia. Take a deep inhale. And exhale. And from here, lift your head up first, elongate your spine, and raise yourself up. Deconstruct any props and put them off to the side. You'll lean back onto your hands, slowly draw your knees together. And scooting your feet out apart, just windshield wiper your knees from left to right, just a couple of times. So every long hold that we do, we'll follow it by a rebound. A rebound can be a pose, or it can be some gentle movement. And these rebounds are an opportunity for us to just notice what sensations arise, what new sensations arise when we release the pose. So our next pose will be caterpillar pose. So we're essentially reversing the direction of metamorphosis, starting in butterfly and moving to caterpillar. You'll extend your legs out in front of you. Your feet can be together, or you can have some space between your heels. If you have tight hamstrings, or maybe you tend to hyperextend, take a rolled up towel or blanket and place it underneath your knees. And your feet do not have to be flexed. If we were in a vinyasa class, I would tell you to actively flex your feet here, but you can just allow them to be in a natural position that feels natural for you. And if you need to sit yourself up higher on a blanket or a pillow, then feel free to do so. Once you have your legs in position, you'll fold forward. You can either keep a flat back hinging at your waist, or you can let your back round forward. For props, you can take your bolster or stack of pillows and lay that along the length of your legs and fold towards there. You can close off any space between your head and that bolster with a block, or you can stack blocks in between your thighs and then rest your forehead on those blocks. And don't necessarily worry about grabbing hold of your feet. You can just let your arms rest along the sides of your legs. And then just allow yourself to breathe and give into gravity. So as I said while we were holding butterfly, we're targeting the connective tissues of our body, which are the fibers that hold our bones and muscles together. And unlike our muscles, which have a elastic and warm quality, the connective tissues have more of a cold and plastic-like quality. So while the muscles respond well to shorter periods of stress and more intense periods of stress, the connective tissues respond well to longer periods of stress at a more gentle intensity. So that is the reason why we hold the postures in Yin for the amounts of times that we do. And that is why we do not put any extra force or any emphasis on alignment when we hold these poses. We're essentially honoring the way that our body is uniquely crafted and uniquely made, and we allow our body to respond to the poses in their own unique way. And just through noticing sensation, we allow ourselves to comprehend what our body is communicating to us. So we have about less than halfway to go. And remember that while we're holding these poses for a specific amount of time, remember and know that those times are just a suggestion. So everybody's body, especially if you're new to this practice, has a different threshold of time. So know that if 1 or only 2 minutes is enough, then feel free to come out of the pose early. And as you continue to practice yin, you'll find that your body will be able to open up to longer periods of time in the holds. Take a deep inhale and exhale. And then slowly lift your head, elongate your spine, and raise yourself up. If you have any props on your legs, go ahead and move those off to the side. Move the blanket that's underneath your knees off to the side. And just give your legs a little shimmy and shake. And then we'll simply rebound by coming into a cross-legged position, or you can stay with your legs extended out. Find some stillness and just notice any sensations that you feel along the back of your spine. Our next pose will be half dragonfly, so working into lateral flexion or side stretching now. Turn to face the long edge of your mat and sit off of it, so that way you have your mat for your feet. You'll take your right leg out to a half straddle position or wide V, and your left foot will be in towards your pelvis. Again, feel free to place a blanket underneath your hips here, and if you have that blanket that you rolled up underneath your knees for caterpillar, you can take that underneath your right knee here. You'll turn away from your right leg as you inhale. And then exhale, side lean towards your right leg. Your left arm can be up and over. You can place your left hand behind your head, or you can wrap your left forearm around your low back for a half bind. Right hand can be on your shin, knee, or you can support it with a block. Now, if this pose for any reason is too intense or too uncomfortable, then the alternative will be to lay down on your back with your legs long out in front and your arms reaching back. Walk your feet over to the bottom right corner of your mat. Grab your left wrist, give it a gentle tug, and maybe scoot your shoulder blades a little bit to the right. So you'll get that lateral stretch through your side body and your spine. The half dragonfly just adds the extra benefit of the hamstring and inner thigh. But once you found your shape, come into your breath and settle in. So we're about halfway through. So continue to stay in the pose. If you need to make any adjustments and at any point in time you need to back out, feel free to do so. Lateral flexion is my particular favorite movement of the spine, and it's a movement that we don't often get to do in everyday life. We do a lot of folding forward, we do a lot of back bending, we will even twist sometimes, but generally there's not very many functional moments that we use side stretching. I mean, think about it. When was the last time that you were in the grocery store shopping and then you saw your favorite cereal and you decided to side stretch in order to grab it from the shelf? You probably didn't. But because side stretching isn't something that we do very often, it's really important to access this part of our spine in order for total spine health and mobility and movement. Wherever you are, take a deep inhale and exhale. And slowly lift your spine up from your side stretch, whichever version you're holding. And then you'll switch it to the other side. So for half dragonfly, your right foot will come in, left leg goes out to that half straddle or wide V. You'll turn away from your left leg with the inhale. On the exhale, side lean towards your left leg. Right arm can be up and over. You can half wrap it, or you can place your hand behind your head. And if you're taking banana asana, feet walk over to the left, and you'll walk your shoulder blades to the left, maybe grab your right wrist with your left hand. And then once you come into this shape, come back into your breathing. So as we continue to hold these poses, you may find that your mind will wander off from time to time, and know that that is perfectly okay. And if you do notice that your mind wanders off, instead of judging yourself or analyzing, see if you can allow yourself to observe the thoughts that arise, notice them, and just like at the beginning, maybe put a label to those thoughts, and then just allow the thoughts to go. I once heard from a meditation teacher that the thoughts are kind of like taming a dragon. When we put a name to the thought or a name to the dragon, it loses its power over us and we gain ownership of it. I think oftentimes we feel that we are owned by our thoughts, but the truth is it's the other way around. We have responsibility and we have ownership of our own thoughts. And by doing this, we allow ourselves to be in a place of empowerment where we no longer have to be bothered or tethered by the thoughts. We can remain in a peaceful place and the thoughts can just simply be. About less than a third left in the pose. Remember, you can always back out of the pose at any point in time, or maybe you want to switch from one pose to the alternative. And then just keep focusing on your breath. And as thoughts wander in and wander out, simply allow yourself to notice them and let them go. Deep inhale. And exhale. And slowly come back to center from wherever you are. If you are in half dragonfly, just come to a seated position, any position, and just let yourself take a moment to rebound here. If you took banana asana on your back, just let everything come back to center. And just take a little mini Shavasana. And then we will move to hands and knees, so tabletop pose. And once you arrive in tabletop, just take some cat and cows. So just like we did with seated, just inhale, drop your belly, tail and heart lift. And then exhale, round through your back, chin to your chest. Maybe just notice in this cat-cow how it feels different from the first seated cat-cow that you did. So much in the same way that the different biomechanics of our, say, our shoulders and our hips affect each other, the movements of our spine affect each other as well. They have a strong connection, and it's important to be able to freely move through all the different motions of our spine. Now, of course, there are limitations like herniated back stuff or disc slips, but it's important to find as free movement as we can through all directions of our spine, so that way we're not simply stuck in one pattern. And from here, we will move onto our belly and coming into spinal extension now, or back bends. Our first back bend will be Sphinx pose. Elbows underneath your shoulders, your forearms are parallel, or you can interlace your fingers. And your feet can be either hips distance, or you can take your feet out wider. Now, if Sphinx does not feel comfortable for you, you can either scoot your forearms a little bit more forward and maybe support your head with a block. And if that still causes too much discomfort in your low back, then you can take some alternatives. One alternative is to come to your back for supported bridge. You'll place a block, a bolster, or maybe a thick blanket or pillow underneath your hips. Your knees can be bent or your legs can be long. Other alternative would be to take a low lunge, right foot forward, left knee back. So you'll just get some sensation on your front left thigh without putting too much compression in your low back. And then I'll let you know when we're halfway so you can switch. But once you've found the position that works for you here, once more you'll come into your breathing. And as you hold the pose, allow thoughts to pass. Allow thoughts to go. And just let yourself keep coming back to the present. Sometimes being present is the most challenging part of any practice, whether it's yin or vinyasa. A lot of times we tend to get caught up in the past, comparing what's going on in the present moment to the past. And sometimes we get caught up in the future. We're thinking about the next step. And while it's not a bad thing to think about the past or to think about the future, it does distract us from the many magical opportunities that are happening in the now. If you're taking the low lunge as your alternative, go ahead and switch sides. If you're in Sphinx pose, continue to stay. And again, if you need to back out early and rebound early, feel free to do so. So for this last third, if you are in Sphinx pose and you would like to go a little bit further into sensation, you can either take your hands a little bit more apart and straighten your arms for seal, or you can take blocks or a bolster underneath your forearms to elevate you higher. Listen to your body, and if you're feeling too much compression, lower back down. And if you are in bridge pose and you would like to go a little bit further, you can just stack more props underneath your hips or increase the height of your block. Take a deep inhale. And exhale. If you're in seal pose, slowly lower your elbows down or remove the props from underneath your forearms. We'll rebound in crocodile pose. Stack your hands underneath your forehead and let your elbows go out. If you took low lunge, you'll step back to tabletop, take some cat-cows, or maybe go to child's pose. And if you took supported bridge or remove the props, lower your hips down. And you can either take an extended mini Shavasana, or you can draw your knees into your chest and just give yourself a gentle hug. If you're not already there, go ahead and make your way to tabletop. And our next pose for spinal extension will be a pose called melting heart. It's also sometimes called puppy pose. So for this position, I like to take my knees out wide with my big toes to touch, like I'm going to go into child's pose. But instead, I'm going to walk my hands to the front edge of the mat and take my hands out as wide as my mat. And then from there, I can lower my elbows down and lower my chest towards the floor. You can take a bolster or a pillow underneath your chest here if that helps kind of close off any space. And if this does not work for you at all, you can just do extended child's pose, hips to your heels and arms forward. You can add on by placing blocks underneath your hands, or you can take blocks underneath your elbows, place your palms together and let your fingertips point up to the sky, kind of like dolphin pose. And then when you found your shape, just allow yourself to settle. Breathe deep here. This is a pretty intense opening for the front of our chest if you're taking puppy, so just take deep breaths. And if you need to take your hands out a little bit wider, feel free to do so. And even though we generally want to avoid using any muscular activation in yin, if you need to engage your abdominal muscles to support your low back, then that is perfectly fine to do that from time to time. We're about halfway through. Keep checking in with your body. Keep checking in with your breath. When thoughts come, allow them to go after you notice them. And just let yourself come back to the present. Take a deep inhale and let it go. So carefully, wherever you are, use your hands to gently press yourself up. And once you come into tabletop, you can take some cat and cows again, or you can move your hips up and back into a downward facing dog and just pedal out your legs. So our final pose to target the spine will be a twist. We will do deer twist, which I will show you here. So take your bolster, your stack of pillows. You can also do this with blocks or even stack blankets. You'll place them long ways behind you on your mat. You'll sit up against the prop with your right hip up against it, and your legs can either be stacked together or you can scissor your legs out into deer legs. So as you turn to face the back, you'll frame your props with your hands. And then as you exhale, you'll lower yourself down onto those props. And if you do not have props, you can still do deer twist. You'll just lower down to your elbows and forearms instead. Maybe have a prop underneath your forehead. And the alternative from here would be to come to your back and take a standard reclining twist with either one leg or both legs. And say twists are not a movement that you can do today for any reason. You can do banana asana on your back with your legs long, arms back, and you'll just take your feet and hands and shoulders over to the right. So alternative to a twist would be a side stretch. And if you are taking deer twist with a bolster or pillows, you can rest on either side of your cheek, and I will let you know when you are halfway through, so if you want to switch sides, you can. But once you have found your shape, just allow yourself to settle in. Stay with your breath. Notice the thoughts. Let them go. And stay present. We're about halfway through, so if you are taking a twist, whether it's deer twist or even reclining twist, and your head is turned to one side, feel free to switch to the other side for the next half. And if you find that is too uncomfortable, then you can just go ahead and turn back to the direction that you were in. Invite a deep breath in and let it go. And walk your hands towards you if you're in deer twist and press yourself up. And slowly untwist to face the front, sitting upright. If you took reclining twist, take your knees back to center, give yourself a gentle hug. And if you took banana asana with a side stretch on your back, go ahead and take everything to center. You can rest in a mini Shavasana for a moment or draw your knees to your chest as well. And then just notice how you feel. Moving to the other side, if you took deer twist, you'll sit with your left hip up against the bolster or whatever props that you have. Legs can be stacked or your legs can be staggered in deer legs. You'll turn to face the back, frame the bolster with your hands, and then lower yourself down onto your props. And again, if you do not have props, you can still do the pose. You'll just lower down to your forearms. If you are taking reclining twist, just take your legs over to the other side, whatever variation you had. And if you're taking banana asana, you'll just move it over to the other side. And then once you found the shape, allow yourself to settle in. I often find that the last pose before Shavasana can be the most challenging because we have that sense of anticipation, knowing that the class is about to come to a close. Our attention is pulled into the future. So can you allow yourself to be fully present in the second to last pose? Can you let yourself be here in this moment without any regard to what happens next? I often tell my students in my public classes, be here in this pose as if it was the only pose that you had to do for the rest of your day. So not only letting go of tension and letting go of forcing or holding or gravity, but also letting go of time as well. We're about halfway through, so if you're taking a twist and you need to switch sides of your neck, feel free to do so. And for this last half, allow yourself to slow down your breath even more, maybe even letting the exhales be longer than the inhales. Continue to soften and continue to stay present. Take a deep inhale and exhale. And slowly rebound out of your pose. If you're in deer, lift up onto your hands, untwist and face the front sitting in a seat. If you're on your back in a reclining twist, draw your knees to center. If you're in banana asana, take everything back to center. Either take a mini Shavasana or draw your knees into your chest. And from here, we will move into the final rebound, our final pose of ease and stillness, Shavasana. So use your props however you need to help you find support. You can take something underneath your knees like a bolster or pillow, something underneath your head, and something over your body. And if you have something to cover your eyes, feel free to place that over your eyes. Find a shape that works for you. And when you come into that shape, let your breath be effortless and just enjoy these next few moments of rest. If you would like to stay a little bit longer in your Shavasana, I invite you to stay as long as you need. You could hit the pause button or just let the video finish out. If you are ready to move on, bring some movement back into your body, starting at your fingers and your toes, circling out through your ankles and wrists. And when you are ready, you'll draw your knees into your chest, roll to one side or the other, and make your way up to a seat. Once you're in your seat, you draw your hands at your heart center. Bow your head down towards yourself, acknowledging your effort, your energy, giving yourself gratitude for showing up for yourself today. Thank you so much for sharing your practice. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. If you enjoyed this Yin video, feel free to hit the like button, leave a comment, let me know what you thought, and if you want to request anything else in the future. If you're brand new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button for free yoga. And if you want to know when new videos come out, hit the bell for notifications. If you know anybody that could use some more yoga in their life, share my channel and share this video with them. And I will see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day. Bye.